Hello, welcome to the Elevate Your Wellbeing podcast. Before we dive in, make sure you have your journal handy, whether that's a notebook and pen, whether you are using your phone, or you might be using an app on your computer if you are wanting to take any notes. But we will be doing a journaling prompt, usually at the end of the practice or the end of the podcast, or I might drop it partway through. So depending on what comes out, it's usually at the end. So do you have that handy? Also, make sure you have some water. Make sure you're staying hydrated. And I'm really excited to sit down and chat with you this week. We are now in August. It's Leo season. We're just coming up for the Lion's Gate portal as well. So if you would like any more information about that, do have a little Google. It can be very fascinating if you're interested in astrology. We have a last quarter moon coming up. In the sign of Taurus. This topic, I had an idea. I always sit down. I was talking last week about batching, and I will do that with my podcast. I'll sit down and get an idea of what I want to have a little chat about, because things just kind of land usually when I'm walking the dog. So I give myself a little voice note, and then I have a little sit down of what I want to chat about. And then sometimes it just lands on the right day. And then I was like, oh, that week is the moon's in Taurus, and Taurus is all about self-care, really looking after yourself. And sometimes it's the simplest things that can really make a difference. And that's why I've called this week's podcast The Simple Acts of Self-Care. Self-care. I'll try that again. The simple acts of self-care that can make a huge difference. And I went and had this real lovely weekend of self-care, and then it turned into a week. So I had decided to have a little social media pause. And by that, I mean, I was still going onto the social media. I was doing a little bit of consuming, not too much. I was literally like in the app, maybe 5 minutes. I might have had a few DMs, or I might have even contacted a few people going by what they were sharing in their stories. But I was like, I'm just having a little pause on what I'm sharing. And I shared a little bit about this because I did make a reel, because I did post on the Sunday that I had done something on the Saturday. Would you like to see? And people had voted yes. So I was like, okay, let's make a little reel. And basically, I was like, right, I just need to have a little pause. And I've gone into this story a little bit more in a previous podcast episode, just a couple back. So I would highlight going back and listening to that if you haven't already, especially if you're new to this podcast. But I was like, right, I'm going out Saturday night, and I don't normally do that anymore. I'm very happy with going to bed, like sometimes lately it's been 9:30, 10 o'clock, 10:30. Don't always go straight to sleep. Sometimes we'll just be present with each other. Whether obviously that's physical, or even just having a nice conversation, and we haven't got phones, or we haven't got the telly, and we're just starting to chill down and really letting our nervous systems reset, and just having as little light on as possible, which feels really lovely. But I was like, okay, one of my best friends, we all turned 40 at the same time. Literally, we're a few days out of each other, and she really wanted to celebrate. And we're like, that's fair enough. If you wanted to do something, we'll come along. And it was really nice. But there were elements where we felt out of our element, because it just felt very new. I was like, I'm very much in my habit of, when I feel my best, when I go to sleep and wake up at certain times. And then our other friend, she's literally got a little boy who's just turned 2. So I was like, as you can imagine, she's on the other side. She's already like, I'm still already sleep deprived, and now I'm going to be more so. But I was like, right, how can I really optimize this so I can just really enjoy it? So I was like, right, I'm going to take the dogs out for a long walk. I'm going to make sure that what I have for lunch and have for dinner is just really nice and sort of nourishing and fills me up. So I have that energy to continue, because we were at school, like secondary school or high school equivalent, in the late 90s. We had a lot of cheesy 90s tunes, and I knew that they were going to be playing them, so I was going to be getting up on the dance floor. So, but what's the simple act of self-care? So I have realized, let's go a little bit deeper. It wasn't until I had this appointment that I'm going to go into in a moment that I suddenly realized, and I hadn't realized this before, but I had been in this can't be bothered like mode. And reflecting back, because a lot of these recent podcast episodes are all about reflecting back, but it's really powerful to know it's like, oh, that's why I'm in this mindset. This is why I'm in this way. This is why I'm feeling stuck. And I was really in a I can't be bothered mode. I was like, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to, I was kind of living under the rule of keeping it super simple, which I was, but I was also doing it from I just want to do as little as possible with that. And obviously, the past few years have been about being in survival mode. So it's doing the bare minimum to get yourself through. And you might not realize that there are certain needs that aren't being met because you haven't been able to shift out of this survival mode. And those basic needs are different depending on who you are as a person. I would really recommend looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like you have your survival needs, and it goes up to everything at the top is like what we would call a luxury, and everything at the bottom is what you would call an essential. And for some people, your essential might be so basic to someone else that their luxury is to you, their basic to you is what you would call a luxury. But regardless, if you're staying in that basic survival mode, I've noticed it can, for me, switch me into this I can't be bothered mode. It's like, oh, I haven't done that for so long. I don't know if I can be bothered. And for me, that was pretty much going out, getting dressed up, doing my hair, doing my makeup, and actually feeling quite luxurious. And again, this was a more recent lesson that came back around. I've noticed at the beginning of this year, I was like, pre-pandemic, I would go to the spa very often. I would go and have a massage, like, every 6 to 8 weeks on clockwork, as like you would if you were coming out of the hairdressers and they're like, should we book you in for your next appointment? I would do that with the like the spa salon I used to go to for my massage, which I loved. And obviously the spanner went in the work for that. And then I was just like, oh, I'm really bothered to start rebook it because I hadn't done the practice for so long that my mind and my body had forgotten how good it feels to do that. And that was something I started doing this year, was to go to the spa. And it's really made a difference. Like this episode's going out in August and I've already gone to the spa 3 times this year. And that makes a big difference with how I feel in my body. But you might have something where you are in that I can't be bothered to do it mode because you've forgotten how good it makes you feel. So something really, really simple was, I was like, right, I'm going out and I'm at that point where I haven't done my makeup for so long, I can't remember how to do it. And I wouldn't even know what colours suited me or whether what I've got is still good. So I would put a little bit on, maybe if I was jumping on Zoom. I mean, I've never worn a lot when I'm, like, say, teaching yoga, but if I'm going out, as it were, you kind of want to feel a little bit more dressy. Maybe you don't, but for me, that was like a basic essential of having something on. And I had got to the point where it was like, it wasn't a basic need anymore. So I couldn't be bothered. So I was like, right, I feel like I want a bit of a tutorial. So there is a chain, like a shop chain here in the UK, where you can get like those types of products and you can book in for like a little trial appointment, which is completely free. So I was like, I'm going to jump on it. I booked myself in because it was a Saturday. So I thought that way, if it's busy, they can see me. I've booked it. So I have that accountability. So I will show up. And I'm so glad I did. So I went in on the Saturday afternoon, sat down with this really lovely like lady. I do want to say girl because she was younger than me, but still a woman, still a lady. And she just guided me through. I was like, I'd like this, da 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 da. I don't know how to do that. Could you show me? And then she'd show me, say, on like if we were going through like how to do something to make your eyes pop a bit more. She would do one side and I'd do the other. And there was just little like tips and tricks that I had no idea how to do. A little bit like coaching. It's like, oh, I didn't even realize that was possible. And then after I had finished with this appointment, I had another appointment probably like half an hour afterwards. But by the time I had driven in the car to get there and whatnot, I was pretty much on time. And I've heard a few of my mentors suggest this, and I've always like shrugged it off because it always sounds really luxurious. And I'm like, well, I'm not really showing up on camera in a way that I need to do this. So this was to go for a blow dry. So go to the hairdressers and have someone basically style your hair for you. And I was like, that sounds really like bougie, really luxurious. I can't justify that because at the moment, if I'm showing up on camera, I'm just being present with my client, whether that's one-on-one or whether I'm teaching yoga. But I was like, hang on a minute, I'm going out. And to put some context to this, my friend decided she wanted a black tie event. So we weren't just going out to a club or anything. She wanted a black tie event. So we were all getting dressed up as though we were going to a wedding. Um, and the last time I went to a wedding was October 2019 for one of my friends, the friend that now has a 2-year-old. And yeah, back then I did do my hair and I did do my makeup. But I was like, I have had nearly 4 years since going out to something like this. And I could really sense I was in that. I can't be bothered. I can't be bothered to do my makeup. I can't be bothered to do my hair because I can just show up as me as I am. And that was fine. But I was like, actually, it would be really nice. And the friend that was wanting to have this event, she does like doing her hair, doing her makeup, doing her nails. And I was like, proximity is power. It's that actually I'm going to be there with her. And it would be nice to actually feel like I've done like something to help fill myself up because that's who I'm around. And I can feel the difference of actually how I see how it looks for her. And it would just be nice to have had made that effort. And I'm really glad I did. I didn't realize just how simple going to the hairdressers and have someone wash your hair, do a really lovely scalp massage, put a treatment like a mask on your hair, and then just have that tool. It does feel different. It may sound daft if you are someone who's never done anything with your hair before. Um, it does feel really different when you're trying to do your hair and you're trying to move in certain ways or gauge where you're going in the mirror compared to someone doing that for you. And oh my God, it felt so good. And I'm recording this, like I've already mentioned batching. I am recording this podcast. I have recorded my 5th one. This is when I'm going to be hitting pause because I'm done for the day with my podcast. As I'm recording this, this was on the Saturday. It is now Tuesday. And my hair still feels so lovely. I only wash my hair twice a week anyway. And I feel like I could go till maybe Friday, um, before I have to wash my hair. And like if I wake up Friday morning and I haven't washed my hair, I'm not going to bother because that's the next day I'm going to be going to have a spa day. So I'm like, I can wash my hair Friday night. But it feels like, and that's where that can't be bothered comes in. I could literally like stand under the shower head, wet my hair, put a bit of shampoo on, give it a little bit of a like scrub through, and then rinse it, and I'm done. It is that quick because I was in that can't be bothered mode. It's like just quick, easy, whatever. I wouldn't really dry my hair, wouldn't style my hair. But I used to really love doing things like crimping my hair, like mermaid waves, or like curling my hair. And yeah, I'd realized gotten into that can't be bothered mode, which was that ripple effect from survival mode. So I want to just finish this episode up with what's something super simple that you could do for yourself with regards to your self-care. Because maybe something like, going to the hairdressers and it was literally an hour's appointment with someone washing my hair and then blow drying it. Quite literally, it's just booking in a blow dry. And you can quite literally tell them what you want. She was like, we could do waves, we could do curls, we could do mermaid waves. I could have had anything. And it just felt really nice. Just something really simple as washing your hair can be done by someone else and turned into this real luxurious self-care practice. So that's what it felt like for me. If you do that, I mean, that might be a basic survival mode for you. But if it is, I just want to invite you to check in, like, how does that feel that you're getting that treatment? Give yourself a pat on the back, and like, I'm taking this time for me to do my self-care, even if you're justifying it in a different way, like the people I've had that have recommended it, they're doing it because they're then on camera and they're filming trainings and they want to look their best. Which I totally get. But again, I couldn't justify it as that sense. I was like, I'm just rocking up and listening to my clients. They don't need to see me dolled up, especially if they're feeling bad. And I've kind of used that as a justification of if they're saying they're burnt out and don't have time to do that. But maybe I need to step up and say, look, it is possible. Look, you can do this, even if it's something as super simple as just going to the hairdressers and getting a blow dry. So have a little reflect on what you currently do. Have a little reflect on something you would love to do. What's something that could be as simple as possible, but maybe it's having that massage, at somewhere that does the massage rather than like, oh, I'll ask my partner to do it, and they kind of do it, and then after 5 minutes they get bored because they've got an ache in their hand or whatever. It could be something as hiring a cleaner because you love the thought of the home being clean, but realistically, you don't have the time to make that a priority for it to be done as well. And this is the key thing I've heard from people that have cleaners, and this is something that's on my bucket list to do, is because if it takes you an hour to clean, you're not going to do it as well as that person that you've hired that could do it in an hour. They will get real, they get really into it. So they can do it like 10 times better than you. And this is where that, the delegation really comes in. And I've highlighted this on a couple of episodes recently. What can you delegate to someone else to do and have it as a form of self-care? So thank you for joining me. It's been wonderful to sit down with you. If you have got any takeaways you'd love to share, either DM me at IamRachel_UK, or the details are in the show notes to get in touch. If you have listened to this and you are on social media, do share it on your profile or share it on your stories and tag me. It's always really lovely to hear people enjoying this. And I've had clients that I haven't seen for ages and I've seen them at events and they've messaged me privately and said, I'm really enjoying your podcast. So I do really I want to say thank you very much. I'm so glad you are enjoying this podcast. If there is anything that you would love me to dive into more, I have got a list of ideas of what I want to dive into more. But I'm also using it as a gauge of what you are telling me that you're enjoying or what you would like me to go into more. So please do let me know. And I look forward to sitting down and chatting with you next week.